So here we go on the fourth video of government interventions to deal with market failures. Number 4 is all about a maximum price. Now you may also refer to this as a price cap or a price ceiling. All three of those basically mean the same sort of thing. As you would expect, this works largely in a similar way to a minimum price, except the desired aim is the opposite. So the aim here is to increase the consumption of a good. Okay, so by capping the price, we're stopping the price rising too high and therefore hoping that people will consume more of this good. So what sorts of failure will this aim to correct? It will aim to correct market failures caused as a result of underconsumption. So what sorts of goods cause underconsumption? We have referred to those goods as merit goods. So maximum prices would be a policy that a government would adopt in order to try to correct the market failure caused by merit goods. So let's have a look at how we would analyse this using a diagram. So we'll start by drawing our axes and our demand and supply curves as we have done. So price and quantity on our axes, our demand curve, which remember is our marginal private benefit, and our supply curve, our marginal private cost. Now, what we know is that if this were left to the free market, we would end up with a price of this good of P and a level of consumption of Q. And this is the situation that would then generate our market failure if we had merit good effects going on here, because Q means that actually there is too little of this good being consumed. So how does a price floor? How does a price ceiling, a price cap, correct this market failure? Well, the first thing to bear in mind, similarly to a minimum price, is the government has to be very careful about where it sets this price ceiling. If it were to set the price ceiling above price level P, then it would have no effect on the market, because the market forces would return the price to P in any case. So a price ceiling is only going to have an effect if it is applied below the equilibrium price. So the maximum price or the price ceiling needs to be applied like this. It needs to be applied below PC for price ceiling. It needs to be applied below the maximum price, because basically what will happen is that the market will be trying to return itself to P. The market equilibrium will try to return itself to P. So the maximum price, the price ceiling, is the government preventing by law the market correcting itself back to price P. So it keeps the price below the equilibrium price at PC. How does that correct the market failure then? Well, quite clearly, if we consider how many people are willing to buy the good at price PC, as we would expect, more people, Q1 people, are willing to consume this particular good when the price is below the equilibrium. And this is exactly what we expect. If we reduce the price of something, more people are going to be inclined to buy it. So we will increase the level of consumption from Q to Q1. And if we think back to our market failure was caused by the fact that this good was a merit good and therefore people were consuming too little of it. So this diagram demonstrates how imposing a maximum price will encourage people to increase their levels of consumption and therefore reduce the amount of market failure. Those of you that are a little bit ahead here will notice that there's a potential problem here, because although consumers will now want Q1 of this good, firms are only willing to produce Q2 of this good at the maximum price. And this is one of the very frequently raised problems with imposing a maximum price, which is that although it will make life better for consumers and will increase consumption, it makes things very difficult for producers. It will reduce the level of supply, it will reduce the level of profit, and therefore there may be long-run damaging effects on the firm side, the supply side of this market. An example of this that you could think about at the moment is the proposed cap or freeze, I suppose, which is just another way of saying cap, really, in this case, of energy prices by the Labour government. They have suggested that they will freeze energy prices if they were to win the general election. And what that would mean is if following the general election there was then a situation where the market price for gas and electricity rose, then the price would remain below the equilibrium. And a lot of the energy firms have protested about this on the basis that if that were the case, then that would end up with them not having the profits and so on available to make the long-term investments that are needed. So although a maximum price in theory would correct the market failure and would lead to an increase in consumption, this sort of intervention is seen as being a very significant distortion of the market, and therefore most free market economists would argue that it is not normally an effective way to correct market failure. But that's a quick demonstration of what a price ceiling is and how it would be used to correct market failure in the case of a merit good.